just need to talk about one policy or one name which is popularly used at this time, carrot and stick policy. Carrot and stick policy. Have you heard about it? What is carrot and stick policy? Yeah, no. Appeasement, huh? Yeah. So what you think that is right? Let me explain it. Carrot and stick policy. Carrot is for the moderate leader. It is a policy of appeasement. And as you know that when we say policy of appeasement, so whenever politicians may go ahead with the policy of appeasement, so bola to jata hai, I would say to you that you will be given these rights, but you will never be given this. Okay? So it's basically a shoe to hope which I'm giving to you. And stick, if wherever any obstruction is there, then so force would be used. Then now understand. So just look at it. The carrot and stick. Have you heard about Tonga? Tonga, second. Have you seen it? Second. Tonga something सुना होगा देखा. I think you haven't seen. Have you seen the Soling? What Hemamali was driving? Tonga. Okay. So now understand. So Tonga is driven by a horse. Now how it functions? So what they do? That there is an iron cage in front of the face of the horse. उस iron cage में what they do? That they hang a carrot. They will hang a carrot. So face of the horse is over here and carrot is hanging just in front of his eyes. Now looking at this carrot, so horse will see that he will move one step and he will get the hold of the carrot. But then he does not realize that when he moves one step, carrot also moves one step. So this is an illusionary thing, appeasement which is given to the horse. That he थोड़ा सा मेरे साथ चलो मिल जाएगा तुम्हें. This kind of thing. So carrot keeps that horse keeps on moving to get the hold of that carrot, but actually he never gets the hold of the carrot. So that's the carrot policy for moderate leaders. That if they cooperate with the British authority, so they will be given more reforms, more political rights, which would actually be the false hope. Then on the other hand, at a certain point of time, the horse realizes that he will never get exhausted. He will never get hold of that particular carrot and do the right then because he is trying it from many times. So he stops, and then he stops. So then what will they do? पीछे से एक stick use करेंगे. So they will be using a stick, okay, and then will be beating the horse. So then horse will start once again running. So this is carrot and stick policy. So carrot, who was a moderate leader, was ready to cooperate, so they will be given appeasement. But then who is the stick? Who was the extremist leader because they have obstruction. They stop everything. Okay, so they will be beaten, and beaten after they will be suppressed. Right? So this is the carrot and stick policy, and moreover, the reflection of this carrot and stick policy was the model legal reforms of 1909. Right? So what is the reforms of 1909? So we'll talk about the model reforms of 1909. But we'll start with 1858, Victoria Declaration, and then Government of India Act 1858, Indian Council Act 1861, Indian Council Act 1892, and then model reforms. Okay? So just right. So originally, the naval session originally followed for the moderate leaders was followed like this. So Gopal Krishna Gokhale was the one who had a hell lot of say in deciding the venues, and actually he changed the venue from Nagpur to Surat. That would be the venue. That's why moderate leaders had upper hand. 2023 till 2024, which we chosen in 2024. Similarly, was there that when the president is chosen in 2023, so he will be there in 2024 until and then the next president is chosen. So that it's very similar to this. So it may seem like two different examples, but what happens? November is the month in which the Miss Universe or Miss World is chosen of 2023. But then they will see the Miss Universe will be called as the Miss Universe 2023 till 2024, which will be chosen in 2024. Similarly, was there that when the president is chosen in 2023, so he will be there till 2024 until and then the next president is chosen. So when you there will be decided meanwhile. For 2024, it will be kind of basically there was no such rule related to the venues and how it will be decided. So basically that there used to be some inner functionary who used to decide that where would be the venue. That's why moderate leaders had upper hand in Congress function because they were the founders of the Congress. So they had upper hand, and that's how they finally they're changing. So for example, even the Calcutta thing was also like this. So Gopal Krishna Gokhale was the one who had a hell lot of say in deciding the venues, and actually he changed the venue from Nagpur to Surat. So there was no such consensus building in deciding the venues. But later on, this particular thing will come up in the Congress after 1920s. That when the Congress Working Committee is created, so in Congress Working Committee will decide where would be the venue, and that is under the influence of the. So they're going to lead in ways that Gandhi, because it is Gandhi who proposed the creation of the Congress Working Committee. Now, उसके बनने के पहले it was all a bit of thing. Right? So now let's get back to this part. So what to do? Let's first write. We will go back and we'll start with the Queen Victoria's Proclamation. Queen Victoria's Proclamation, 1858. And actually, this Victoria's Proclamation includes the Government of India, but we'll write separately. So first of all, what the Queen has to say in 1858? So first of all, what happened? The revolt was suppressed, and there was complete transfer of power from the British East India Company to the British Crown. But then, on 1st of November 1858, then Governor General Canning, he made this proclamation at the Darbar held at which is Allahabad. So he read off the proclamation, and in this proclamation, so he said that the Queen's Proclamation disclaimed any intention of the conquest in India. Meaning, earlier they are going on a rampage to win the territories in India and the territories in India. But then now, Queen disclaimed any intention of conquest in India, saying that they will not be annexing any India. Then the proclamation further went on to say that the rights of the Indian princess would be respected. Indian monarchical states. So rights of the Indian princess would be respected. Then it went on to say that the British Crown will respect the Indian customs, rights, usages, traditions, beliefs. Then so whatever be the practices of the people will be respecting it. Then apart from this, it further said that the British government will follow the policy of the religious toleration, justice, and benevolence. So religious toleration, justice, and benevolence. And then it added that everybody would be entitled to enter into the services and without any discrimination on the basis of the caste, creed, place of birth, and faith and religion. So this is what he proclaimed in this particular thing. And actually, it is after that proclamation that civil service exam is thrown up into India in 1861. So it is from 1861 India started to give the exam. Then the proposal was there in 1853, but say it was in a period in which say the process was in the thinking. Okay? So now this is the proclamation, and this proclamation also attached Government of India Act 1858. So there are some provisions of the Government of India we mentioned. First you write. So you write on 1st of November 1858, Viceroy Canning. Hey, Viceroy, Governor General. No, not wrong, but it's better to write Governor General. Governor General Canning read out Queen Victoria's Proclamation. at a darbar held at Allahabad. Also, give a distinct proclamation disclaimed any intention of conquest in India. Right? It mentioned conquest in India. It further maintained that British Crown will respect the rights of Indian princess. Full stop. It further declared that social customs, traditions, faith, belief, rights and usages. So rights and usages of Indians will be respected. And policy of religious toleration and benevolence. Would be followed. It further declares all the Indians will be entitled to enter into public services without any discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, religion, place of birth, etc. So this is what is there in the declaration. And declaration also attached to the Government of India 1858. So right hand, Government of India 1858. So these provisions which are going to be there in this particular 1858, they are not highly elaborated, and that's why immediately after it, in 1861, the elaboration is going to happen in the 1861 Council Act. So now understand very first thing. So now the position of Governor General. So now he was also designated as Viceroy of India. Right? So Governor General of India was now also designated as Viceroy of India. Number two, that it's obviously that it has transferred power from British East India Company to the Crown, but at the same point of time, that it has also led to the abolition of those groups which were created. What were the groups? 18 which was the Court of Directors. You remember in the last one 1850 what we mentioned? Earlier there used to be 24 Court of Directors, but 18 remained, in which were appointed as shareholders and they paid the British Crown. So now it abolished the group of the Court of Directors, and so as there is no need of Board of Control. So these two were abolished, and then Secretary of State, understand this very carefully. Secretary of State used to be a cabinet minister in the British Parliament. Now he was made responsible for the Government of India, and to get this Secretary of State, a 15-member Council of India was created. And actually, this is the 15-member council, which is going to develop into the Central Legislative Council or Imperial Legislative Council, whatever name you say. So this is the council which will be expanded and will be known with these names. Now my question to you, that the position which was there earlier, Governor General of India, and now one more position is getting created, Viceroy of India. So can you tell me the difference between the two positions? That who is Governor General and who is Viceroy? What is the difference between the two positions? Deputy of the Crown is Governor General, and what is the Viceroy? Okay, so change. Then I think what is right, but not very fine. So anyway, who wants to try? Which position is there from a long time? Governor General or Viceroy? Governor General. Take it. Oh, Viceroy and Governor. General. Okay. General was used for people in India. And बताओ. Okay. ठीक है. तुम सही हो, पर इसको राइट वर्ड से ऐसे लिखने के नहीं आपने. बात तो नहीं सही है. लिखने के लिए थोड़ा लैंग्वेज चाहिए. So basically, क्या बताओ? नहीं, लेकिन decision मत लिखो, वो complete करो. ठीक है. Simply, administrative head of the country is Governor General. ठीक है. And he is representative of the British Crown, Viceroy. So Viceroy is the representative of the British Crown. So for any such sort of development which is happening in India, so when he is reporting to the Crown, so he is Viceroy. But then when he is managing the administration of the country, so he is Governor General. The same person is Viceroy also and Governor General. But then as a Viceroy position, he is the representative of the British government, of British Crown, and then as the Governor General, he is administrative head of the country. So ये देखो ये कहीं भी किसी किताब में लिखा नहीं मिलेगा. It is just with the understanding you will have to develop. So you will not get it कहीं लिखा होगा क्या basic है. But I believe that UPSC कोई question पूछना चाहिए because this is a basic understanding. So just mention. Take plain one and then we'll differentiate between the two. So like please think like that it now designated was administrative head of India, and Viceroy was the direct representative. Viceroy was the direct representative of British Crown in India. You can say that governor, presenting governor is a constitutional right. ठीक है? नहीं, मतलब जबरदस्ती नहीं करेंगे. ठीक है? इसमें नहीं करेंगे. But I'll give them some good examples. That अभी हम वहाँ पहुँचे नहीं हैं. So basically, the India became free. 1847. So then the Viceroy position ceased to exist. What position remained? Governor General. So who became the Governor General of Pakistan? Jinnah never became Prime Minister of Pakistan. That you must know that. So he became Governor General of Pakistan, and for India, Nehru requested to mount him to continue as a Governor General. In 1949, he has left the Governor General position, and then after the first Indian origin Governor General of India was the C. Rajagopal. So till the position of the President was created, the Governor General position was there. But Azadi ke baad, the Viceroy position was not there, but India is no more under the British rule. Okay? So this is what is the best example that we can quote. Now next you write. अच्छा एक और चीज़ बताओ. That the Secretary of State which we are going to write was for the very first time he is involved in Indian administration, or was he they are relevant in Indian administration are there also. Very good, exactly. So he was the president of the board of control. So it's not like that he's not there in India. He's already involved, but his board of control was abolished. So now he became the Secretary of State. He's Secretary of State, but now he became responsible for the government of India. So mentioned right. It abolished the group of board of directors, and board of control Next point. The Secretary of State, who was the cabinet minister in the British Parliament, was now made responsible to the government of India. Last point. To assist Secretary of State, a 15-member Council of India was created. Now made responsible to the government of India. Last point. To assist Secretary of State, a 15-member Council of India was created. Then, which later became Central Legislative Council or Imperial Legislative Council. Central Legislative Council or Imperial Legislative Council. So this is what is called the Government Act 1858. Let's elaborate this Act through 1861. So mention Indian Councils Act 1861. So which council? The council which is 15-member council. So related to that, the elaboration is going to happen in 1861. Understand? Now, after the separation of the revolt of 1857, the British authority understood the importance of incorporating Indians into the administration. So then he responded that Indians must also be incorporated in the rule-making process. But then, how they will be incorporating Indians? The Indians will not be in the equal space, but they will be in an inferior space. After the separation of the revolt of 1857, the British authority understood the importance of incorporating Indians into the administration. So then he responded that Indians must also be incorporated in the rule-making process. But then, how they will be incorporating Indians? The Indians will not be in the equal space, but they will be given an inferior space in the rule-making process. Or basically, a kind of a lesser role in the rule-making process. So it is going to start the beginning of the representative organizations or the council incorporating Indians, but Indians were included as non-official members. So non-official members. There are two types of members in the council. एक तो official and second is the non-official. So who is official? British. Okay. So British are official and Indians were incorporated as non-official. So very first provision now understand. So in the Central Legislative Council, now the Indians were to be incorporated as non-official members, but then official majority would be maintained. Meaning, suppose if they incorporate interesting 5 Indians and 10 British, so whose majority is there? Official majority is there. So this is there. So though they incorporated Indians into the rule-making process in the assemblies, but then their numbers were kept lower than the official members. So that is the very first provision. And in fact, not only the Central Legislative Council, but this Act will also lead to the beginning of the Legislative Council in the states also. Okay? So not everywhere, but in some of the states. So for example, that which all states would be there. So Bengal Main, then North West Frontier Province, and then also Punjab. Okay? So every proposal is related to it. So as Bombay Madras Presidency which is there, they also will get their own legislative councils. Right? So in these legislative councils also, there will be two types of members, official and non-official members, and official will have majority and Indians will have little to share in it. Right? So just mention the very first one. Right? Then, okay? After the revolt of 1857, after the suppression of revolt of 1857, British government felt the need of incorporating Indians in the rule-making process. Then mention rule-making process full stop. They started to incorporate Indians as non-official members in the councils. Then point to right. Mention it restored the legislative power of Bombay and Madras Presidency. Next point. It proposed the legislative councils in the provinces like Bengal. So one thing you must do, let's suppose Bengal likha hai. So I'm also writing this in which year the legislative council was created in Bengal. So in Bengal it was created in 1862. Okay? Then Northwest Frontier Province. NWFP. So 1866 was the year in which it was created. Then Punjab. So no proposal was there in 1861. That in Punjab also there was a legislative council, but it took time in Punjab for a legislative. Also writing this in which year the legislative council was created in Bengal. So in Bengal it was created in 1862. Okay? Then Northwest Frontier Province. NWFP. So 1866 was the year in which it was created. Then Punjab. So no proposal was there in 1861. That in Punjab also, there must be a legislative council, but it took time. In Punjab, for the legislative council to be created, and that was in 1897. 1897. Yep. So this is about councils. So official, there will be two types of members. Okay? Official members are basically the British people. It's very simple, it's the British people. And non-official are the Indians. Okay? So they call the one which are appointed by the high authorities, okay, in the Britain, okay, they are called as official. Then, and then the one who are incorporated from India, they are non-official. Okay? Just that. So just that. But then in terms of power also there will be difference. अभी वो आगे आएगा, ठीक है? So basically officials will enjoy more powers. Then they will have more say. This is what we were saying in the beginning. They will have more say, more powers. But non-officials will have limited powers, and these limited powers will grow over the period. Then, so basically, actually it is the last thing that we will be discussing actually. So just wait for it. Then you will get to know that what is actually the difference between the powers. So the next provision is basically that it also called for establishment of the 3 high courts. So it led to the establishment of 3 high courts, and in 1865 3 high courts were created. One was the Bombay, one other was the Madras, and then Calcutta. So what was the Calcutta Supreme Court? So Supreme Court at Calcutta, it got merged with the High Court at the Calcutta. So there is no existence of the Supreme Court at Calcutta from 1865. So mention it also called for establishment of high courts in the 3 presidency towns. High courts in the 3 presidency towns. As such, high courts were created at Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta by 1865. Right? Then next one. So there's one more thing. So Governor General Canning, he started the portfolio system. Okay? So he started portfolio system. Basically, what is portfolio system? It is the creation of the different departments of the administration. Right? And actually, this portfolio system is the one which will lead to the creation of the ministries in the modern India. So for example, those are the times when the Department of Agriculture, Department of Education, Department of Health. So this way, so different portfolios are created, and these portfolios were held by specific officers. Right? So who are basically the bureaucrats. Right? So they were holding these positions. Right? But then later on, the elected representatives in the modern India, or basically the in free India, elected representatives will become the head of the departments, or it will be called as the ministry. So portfolio system was started by Canning. Then apart from this is the particular act which mentioned about the basically the ordinance. So for example, those were the times when so Department of Agriculture, Department of Education, Department of Health. So this way, so different portfolios are created, and these portfolios were held by specific officers. Right? So who are they? Basically the bureaucrats. Right? So they were holding these positions. Right? But then later on, the elected representatives in the modern India, or basically in the free India, elected representatives will become the head of the department, or it will be called as the ministry. So portfolio system was started by Canning. Then apart from it, this is the particular act which mentioned about the basically we can say ordinance power of the president and the governors also. Okay? So where the ordinance power of the president is mentioned 1, 2, 3, I think. Okay? And the governors 2, 1, 3. Is it right? So these we trace it from the 1861 Act. So this is the act which gave the ordinance making power to the Governor General. And on emergency matter, without the concurrence of his council, he can go ahead with the ordinance making. So mention right. Governor General Canning
issue ordinance without the consent of the
portfolio system.
Whereby super important is it?
The different departments were to be created to be headed by specific officers. Next you mention after it. It also gave ordinance making power to Governor General on the important matters. Without the concurrence of his council. So now understand. So these are some of the provisions which are mentioned over here, and in the innovation of the power, but particularly delegation of the powers of the official and non-official members, we will see in 1892. Another thing that you ask right the question, that the official members are appointed by the government, but then the non-official are not the government employees. So basically entitlements will be different. Government officials will get the salary, but then non-officials will get the ad hoc payment. You're getting it? The ad hoc payment. So it's just like an ad hoc position. I hope you understand ad hoc position. Universities में होता है. The universities में there are professors who are permanent and there are professors who are ad hoc. Okay? So ad hoc का क्या होता है? Contract होता है. But they are giving contractual payment. So they will be given payment, but not the official payment. That is the ad hoc payment. So they are official of the government officials, and they are the contractual people who are part of the councils. Okay? So now let's come to the next act. Okay? Indian Councils Act of 1892. Indian Councils Act 1892. So now listen, one more thing. That is the official and non-official. So if they are discussing anything, they are just a suggestion body who can give the suggestion. They cannot take the decision. They can only give the suggestion, not take the decision. But from 1892, they will be conferred with some decision-making power. So it is not only concrete decision-making power, but then beginning will happen. So why so? Just a suggestion body who can give the suggestion. They cannot take the decision. Indian Councils Act 1892. So now listen, one more thing. That is the official and non-official. So if they are discussing anything, they are just a suggestion body who can give the suggestion. They cannot take the decision. They can only give the suggestion, not take the decision. But from 1892, they will be conferred with some decision-making power. So it is not only concrete decision-making power, but then beginning will happen. So why so? Because Congress has been created, and Congress is demanding the concrete political rights for the Indian members in the councils. So now understand. So the Indian Council Act of 1892, what it is? So it is that it increased the number of the non-official members in the councils, both central and provincial. So दोनों जगह numbers increase हो रहे हैं, but still they maintain the official majority. So they are maintaining official majority means that still the numbers are increasing, but then they are not toppling the British government appointed officials. So that is number one. Then the number two, the Indian members of the councils, they were given rights to discuss budget. So this is actually concrete, right? So earlier they were not allowed to do anything on the budget. So discuss budget and address a question. Address question to executive. So now onwards they can ask a question to the executive. So they are given the right to discuss budget and so has address a question to the executive. But even this is also limited right. So for example, right is limited right. See, the more concrete right would be there. Let's suppose if we are given the right to discuss the budget, so we must be given the right to block the budget also. Right to take a decision on the budget also. But the right to take decision on the budget was not given. So for example, suppose the government says that you all have the right to discuss the budget. So you are discussing it. And obviously what is the purpose of this discussion? Will be suggestion taken. So you are basically, it will be more concrete right that suppose that the particular aspect, the discussion of in the budget, particularly on the section of the defense, that how much proportion will be sanctioned for the defense budget. So suppose that you and the decision you are taking that only 8% must be given to the defense sector. But then you are giving the suggestion. But it will be better if you vote it then, and if the voting is, the government is bound to allocate only 8%, then you have only given suggestion. And then after the suggestion, government has come up with the budget in which they have allocated 11% of the amount to the defense. So this is actually not a concrete line. It is just a, once again, it is just a suggestion wala right. And address the question to the executive is also not supplementary question, meaning that at the time you can ask just one question. The counter question cannot follow. That's what we call supplementary question. So this is beginning, and these rights will be further elaborated in the next one, where not only Indians will be able to vote on the budget, but also the supplementary question or complementary question will also follow, and in which 1909. So mention, so very first, like, it increased the number of non-official members. It increased the number of non-official members in both central and provincial councils. But it maintained official majority. It maintained official majority in both of them. Then mention number two. Indian members of the councils were allowed. Indian members of the councils were allowed to discuss secret budget items, and address a question to the executive. Then mention. This is first one. Then I'll explain. Third one, right? To fill some of the non-official seats. In the provinces. Indirect election method was followed. But nowhere in the Act word election was mentioned. So this is the important part. So Hamisha now, that question related to it has been asked many times in the previous paper. So if they ask you that where the board election is mentioned, so you have to always go with the 1909. And that is also an indirect election. Okay? But the process started from there. Then the indirect election method, but the word election was not mentioned. Then, so only three provisions are there which are important in this one. Let's go to the 1909. That is Model Minto Reforms or Government of Indian Councils Act 1909. It is also called as Government of India Act 1909. So you can write the title Model Minto Reforms. And Indian Councils Act 1909. Okay. So when it comes to this particular Indian Councils Act, so first of all let's look at the provinces itself. So now the official majority in the provinces was removed. Okay, meaning that in the provinces there could be more number of Indians. Number one. Okay. So provinces center main section. Okay. Then the next one is basically that to fill the seats in the provinces, electoral college was created. Okay. And electoral college was created. Moreover, what is electoral college? Have you completed the political part, or you have just started? How many classes have happened? Parliament has started. So in Parliament you must have read about the president. How the president election happened? Electoral college. Vice president electoral college. So what is electoral college? Is it a direct election or indirect election? Indirect election. So here also electoral college was created to fill the seats in the provinces. And who were the members of this electoral college? So for example, in the president we all know that it is a member of the Parliament, and both the Rajya Sabha also acts so as a state legislation. Okay. But here in this electoral college, who will be members? So basically therefore the income qualification. Okay. That not everybody can become the member of the electoral college. So there was a certain definition of the income criteria that if you cross that income limit, then only you will become the member of the electoral college. So it included actually the rich class of India. So rich traders, rich merchants, local representatives, rich traders body, and group of professors and the teachers. Then so they were the members of the electoral college who were choosing the members of the provincial legislative councils. Okay. So very first one you write that it abolished official majority in provinces. Then right to fill the non-official seats in provinces. Indirect election method was followed. That is creation of electoral college. There was income criteria for being the member of electoral college, for being the member of electoral college. As such, its members mainly included rich traders, merchants, local representatives, group of teachers, professors, etc. Yes. So this is the very first part. If the only question we are talking about is the provinces. Center में official majority, group of teachers, professors, local representatives, group of teachers, professors, etc. Yes. So this is the very first part. If the only question we are talking about is the provinces. Center में official majority is still intact. Okay? Now we come to the budget wala part. So in budget part, earlier in the 1892 they were allowed, Indians were allowed to discuss the budget, but now they are allowed to vote on separate budget item. Separate budget item, what is separate budget item? Not everything. Okay? Only on some of the counted things, and that actually constituted out of the 100% of the budget items, only 25% was made available to them. On these matters, they can vote. Another thing that the Indian members were allowed to ask a supplementary question. So Pichli baar is one question at a time, but now they can ask a supplementary question from this time. Then the most dreading, or basically the most divisionary tactics of this act or provision of this act was the separate electorate for the Muslim masses. So understand what is the separate electorate? I think we have discussed here also, but we'll understand. So separate electorate for the Muslim masses. Moreover, the income criteria for the Muslim masses was kept way lower than the Hindu community. So for example, to be a member of the electoral college, so a Hindu suppose that his income is 1 lakh rupees, it might be 1 lakh rupees. So for Muslims it was kept 70,000 rupees. So now I want to separate electorate. So if suppose that there is Karol Bagh constituency is declared as the separate electorate for the Muslim masses, so it means that only the Muslim candidates can contest from the Karol Bagh, and the voters or the people who will be there in the electoral college, only the Muslims who are there, they will be the one who will be voting. So it is a very bad provision and divisionary tactics. On the other hand, last time I think we discussed about the three stages of communalism. So liberal communism, liberal moderate and extreme communism. Now let's look at it from the angle of the communism. So if there is a reservation, suppose यही Karol Bagh अगर declare कर दिया that it is a reserved constituency for the Muslims. So candidate would be Muslim, but are the voters not Muslim? Only Muslims? No. Hindus will also vote, Muslims will also vote, Sikh, Christians, and everyone will vote. So if the Muslim candidate is there, his voters are there from all the other communities. Obviously he will be the demographics of all the communities. And then obviously suppose that I live in a Hindu colony, and then he takes vote of that particular colony. So he will say to me, my colony zero वालों का क्या? ठीक है? यहाँ पे lights लग जाएंगे, electricity would be there. So obviously he's promising some development work. He's creating a one-harmony with me. So that's how I will vote for him. So there is a one-harmony which develops in the reservation. But in separate electorate, that if I'm Muslim and there is a Muslim candidate, he will be company, no matter how many Hindus are there. Is there any need for him to get works with the Hindus? No. So it will never foster any question between the Hindus and Muslims. So that's why separate electorate was one of the examples of the communal politics in India. And it was initiated all by the British. So mentioned right. So Indian members were now allowed to vote on separate budget item, and ask a supplementary question to the executive. Supplementary question to the executive. Then next one, mention. It introduced the system of separate electorate. For the Muslim masses. Full stop. What is the next statement? The income criteria for the Muslim masses. Was kept way lower than the other communities. So way lower than the other communities. Full stop. Then a last provision comes that in the Viceroy Executive Council, one Indian member was to be added, and the first Indian member who was added was the Satyendra Prasad Sinha. So there are two Satyendras, Satyendra Nath Tagore, who cleared the civil services. First Indian who cleared the civil services career, S.P. Sinha. And in fact, S.P. Sinha was also the president of the Congress in 1916. So we don't mention in the right hand part, but then he was a very important member of the Congress. So then it also created the provision. Whereby one Indian member will be included in the Viceroy Executive Council. One Indian member will be included in the Viceroy Executive Council. The first Indian member of Viceroy Executive Council was Satyendra Prasad Sinha. So this is till 1909. Okay. So this is till 1909, and moreover, basically 1919 chronologically. So whenever it will be there, after home rule, we will talk about it. And so as a 1925 in the due course itself. So now all the acts which were important before it, we have already seen, and important provisions we have already seen. So now understand what has happened by this point of time. So I'm going back to the policy of the cabinet state. So following the policy of the cabinet state, British government, as we mentioned, that they followed the appeasement policy for the moderate and suppression for the extremist leaders. So what they have done, that the extremist leaders of the Congress, they were arrested in many false cases. Okay? And in these false cases, so we talk about that institutionally nationalism. So when it comes to so he was arrested and he was sent to Mandala jail for 6 years. Then last time he was also jailed for 1 year. Because Chandra and Vijay Chandra they were jailed for 6 months. But then I will discuss some issue of the Tilak. Why Tilak was arrested. So ये part will be writing a revolutionary nationalism, but just listen that why he was arrested. So basically 1908 there were two revolutionaries. Their names were Dr. Chaki and Khadiram Bose. And they attempted to get the Indian Police Commissioner of Calcutta. But then due to some miscalculation they killed two British ladies. After that, what has happened? So when these two British ladies were killed, so after some point of time, Prafullah Jati out of bail, he shot himself dead. And Khudiram Bose later on, he was captured and then he was executed. So Tilak at this point of time, he wrote an article in his magazine, basically in Bharata, and in this article he claimed these two revolutionaries as the martyrs. Sahih, okay? And moreover, he went on to say in this article that if British government is really serious about avoiding these kind of things, they must give help to India. So this is what he wrote in the article. Now, British government got the opportunity to try him in the court on the basis of sedition, that he is giving provocative speech, what he is doing anti-establishment activity. So now Tilak was tried in the court, and finally the judgment was given by one Indian judge whose name was Justice Dawar. So Justice Dawar charged Tilak that he is creating a conspiracy and seditious activity against the British authority. And at this point of time, Tilak was defended by none other than the Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the lawyer of the Tilak. And Muhammad Ali Jinnah tried his best, but then he could not defend Tilak. So Tilak was given punishment 6 years down in the Mandala jail. Now Tilak was asked that if he wants to say anything in this regard. So Tilak made a very profound statement at this point of time. What was the statement of Tilak? That he said, despite the verdicts of the jury, I maintain I'm innocent. Then he said, there are other higher powers. There are other higher powers who decide the destiny of the men and the nations. So there are other higher powers who decide the destiny of the men and the nations. Then it may be the will of the providence that the cause that I represent will be better served by my suffering than by my pen and tongue. Now understand what he's trying to say. It may be the will of the providence. Who is the providence? God. Bhagwan ki marzi hogi. Okay. The cause that I represent, and what is the cause he's representing? India freedom struggle. So the cause I represent will be better served by my suffering. What is the suffering? 6 years jail term. Than by my pen and tongue. So why do you say pen and tongue? Because last time also, you remember in 1897 when he was arrested just for the article, and this time also he's arrested just because of what he has spoken and what he has written. So this is what he said. And after this profound statement, he was sent to the Mandali jail, and then he served over there for 6 months, 6 years, and then he returned back in 1940. So this is one day. And Lala Rai was arrested in some sort of militant movement case in the Punjab. Okay? So as the victims had called. So that's how false cases were rejecting these people, and they were arrested and they were put into the jail. Now let's understand. So on one hand, the extremist leaders are in jail, and the moderates were expecting the reforms. So whatever we have written, is it satisfactory for anybody anywhere? Then so obviously the moderate leaders did not like it. That whatever reforms which were there, they were expecting more concrete reforms. So for example, they proposed a concrete reform. Say 25% budget है voting के लिए. Is it okay? Only 25%, because what is important they have not given for voting purpose. What is not important that is given for the voting purpose. So that is not a political right. Then apart from it, the number of Indians are not increasing. They are not getting the majority in the Central Legislative Council. So obviously they are not liking it. And one of the provisions that they contested was the separation on the basis of the particular religion. So this is why some moderate leaders of India were highly disaffected by it, and they had clearly displayed their displeasure to the British authority. Moreover, they asked about the reforms to then Secretary Morley. And Morley at that point of time he said that he has absolutely no intention to introduce the parliamentary form of government in India. So parliamentary form of government in India. Now when this statement was made by Morley, so now the moderate leaders have written letters to the British authority in Britain. And finally in British Parliament there was discussion. So it was all decided that there would be some sort of redressal of the grievances of the moderate leaders. And as such, in 1911, Grand Delhi Darbar was organized. For the very first time, the British monarch King George V is going to visit India, and what he announced in this Grand Delhi Darbar. So what are the main announcements? First of all, annulment of partition of Bengal. That's the provision. That annulment of partition of Bengal, but with a catch. And what is that? Creation of two new states. So East Bengal and West Bengal got united, but Odisha and Bihar were separated from the Bengal. The new states were created, Odisha and Bengal. Odisha and Bihar. And apart from it, the capital of the British India was now transferred from Calcutta to Delhi. And two British architects were interested with the development task of the new capital, and these architects were Edwin Hitchens and Herbert Baker. अब वापस हम जाते हैं उस प्रोजेक्ट with the annulment of the development task of the new capital, and these architects were Edwin Hitchens and Herbert Baker. अब वापस हम जाते हैं उस प्रोजेक्ट with the annulment of the partition of Bengal has happened. Just like that. Earlier they said that Bengal has become too big to administer, so it must be divided. But then what they created, what basis they have chosen? Communal basis. कि एक side Muslim majority Bengal और दूसरे side Hindu majority Bengal. Now still they want to play the communal politics. So what they did, that East West Bengal. Okay, so West Bengal, what it included? It included the Bengal, then it included Bihar, and it included Odisha. So now when they are uniting East and West Bengal, already East Bengal में Muslims ज़्यादा हैं, ठीक है? And these two states, Bihar and Odisha, it has a lot of Hindus there. So 75% population of there is Hindus, and that 75%, and then in Bengal, which was created at that time, so 38% population was Muslim, and 62 was Hindu. That's the question. 62% was Hindu, and 38% was Muslim. Now this, when it is combined with Bihar and Odisha, so near about the character of this area is 70% Hindus. Right? But now, since this is removed, so now it has 38% Muslims, and East Bengal is Muslim. I'll tell you. So East Bengal had 80% Muslims. Right? So now the Bengal, which is getting united, it has a Muslim majority population, and Hindus will become minority in the Bengal. So basically, the communal politics of British would be alive. I hope you're getting. So this is so they are trying to become Hindus. But now, since this is it included the Bengal, it included Bihar, and it included Odisha. So now, when they are uniting East and West Bengal, already East Bengal में Muslims ज़्यादा हैं, and these two states, Bihar and Odisha, it has a lot of Hindus there. So 75% population of there is Hindus, and that 75%, and then in Bengal, which was created at that time, so 38% population was Muslim, and 62 was Hindu. That's the question. 62% was Hindu, and 38% was Muslim. Now this, when it is combined with the Bihar and Odisha, so near about the character of this area is the 70% Hindus. But now, since this is removed, so now it has 38% Muslims, and East Bengal कितने Muslims? I'll tell you. So East Bengal had 80% Muslims. So now the Bengal, which is getting united, it has a Muslim majority population, and Hindus will become minority in the Bengal. So basically, the communal politics of British would be alive. I hope you're getting. So this is so they are trying to give a message to Indians that नहीं हमने united दिया, but they have done a hell lot of calculation, and that calculation is basically favoring their communal politics. So this is the first step. So now it made very clear to India, and particularly the youth of India, that moderates fail to carry forward any progressive policy, or fail to create a pressure on the British authority, and that's how they will be losing hope in the moderate leadership of India. So right. पहले काम करो. So what you have written? नहीं, इस क्वेश्चन के पहले एक और लिखा. Just government of India के पहले. Last one, yeah, this one. So Queen Victoria's proclamation के पहले, after the split Greece में. tried in court.
Gradual through
Was tried in court.
Progressive realization of
Deported to Mandali
responsible government.
Deported to Mandali jail for 6 years.
Simple.
Mandali Mandali jail for 6 years. Then mention. After it. Mandali jail for 6 years. Lala Lajpat Rai. Lala Lajpat Rai was jailed for 1 year. And Vijay Chandra Chidambaram Pillai for 6 months. Vijay Chandra Chidambaram VOC Pillai you can mention. VO Chidambaram Pillai for 6 months. Change background, very right. The 1909 reforms could not satisfy. The 1909 reforms could not satisfy the aspirations of moderate leadership of India. Cheated on the assurance of more political right of masses. Separately, upon their question, then Secretary of State, Morley declared that he has absolutely no intention to introduce parliamentary reforms in India. Full stop. Then further right. Now, the moderate leaders sent their displeasure to the British authority in Britain. Full stop. In 1911, the Grand Delhi Darbar was held. And for the first time, British monarch, King George V, visited India. He tried to partially address the grievances of moderate leadership. Full stop. He announced annulment of partition of Bengal. But two new states were created from Bengal. Two new states were created, that is Bihar and Odisha. Full stop. He further announced transfer of capital of British India from Calcutta to New Delhi. Full stop. Two British architect Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker were entrusted with the task of developing the new architecture in New Delhi. So this is what is there till 1911. If let's just look at the things which are happening parallelly. So 1905, as I mentioned, it was the beginning of the second phase of the Indian struggle, which we are calling as the extremist phase. Then, and extremist phase, it is ending with the 1909 reform, and then also the arrest of these leaders, extremist leaders. But then, when these leaders are arrested, and the partition of Bengal has also happened, so youth of India, they take two British architects, Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker, were entrusted with the task of developing the new architecture in New Delhi. So this is what is there till 1911. If let's just look at the things which are happening parallelly. So 1905, as we mentioned, it was the beginning of the second phase of the Indian struggle, which we are calling as the extremist phase. Then, and extremist phase, it is ending with the 1909 reform, and also the arrest of these leaders, extremist leaders. But then, when these leaders are arrested, and when the partition of Bengal has also happened, so youth of India, and they don't want to go with the methods of the Congress, but they have taken a violent path. So 1905 to 1915 is also the first phase of the revolutionary nationalism. And so after the Gandhi's part, we'll move to that, and then we talk about the different organizations which existed in this time. Okay? So let's look at. So go back to the Gandhi. We have not discussed about him, and from what time was 1893 to 1915. Okay? Till the time he arrived in India. So mention a title, major title. Gandhi in South Africa. So there are two phases of the Gandhi in South Africa. But before that, just listen. So as we know that Gandhi, he was from not upper middle class, but the middle class family in the Porbandar area of the Gujarat. His father was an accountant in the Rajkot royal dynasty. So meaning that they had good access to the education. Moreover, they were Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are the vegetarians. So Vishnu Bhatt caste of the perfume makers, and actually, like Gandhakas of India, they all trained their origin from one city. Which city? Kannauj. Right? So Kannauj was the city of the Indra, right? In the ancient time, and then they spread to the different parts of India, and then they became the Gandhikas, and then in modern times they came to be known as Gandhis. So anyway, so that might be the origin or ancient origin, but Gandhi is original name Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. After the death of his father, he has got an opportunity to study law from the England, right? And he went to England to study the law. His experience in England was altogether very different. Right? So he was actually did not feel discriminated or racially abused over there in England. What is happening in India, what is happening in the major colonies of the Britain was different than what was happening in the Britain. So in Britain, he did not feel racially discriminated. Moreover, when he was going to South Africa, so Mother was having so many reservations that he was basically that these are the whole countries and then non-vegetarian food is the regime over there. So how come you will be maintaining the purity? So then he had given assurance to the mother that he will never touch. And in fact, to his surprise, in Britain he found the main vegetarian societies. Right? So he became the member of the vegetarian societies, and then he was faithfully going ahead with what promise he had given to the mother. But then later on, he also wanted that not only that in the vegetarian society there was a discussion on the vegetarian food, but also the sattvic aspect of the life. But his vegetarian society all the time they were just discussing how to make a tasty food and nothing else. Right? So later on, he had given up any hope to the vegetarian society. Now, after getting his education, he was good in the poetry skill, the language skills. He was not good in mathematics then, but he was good in poetry skills. He came back to India, and when he came back to India, so he was literally in the search of the employment or some case to fight, and actually for a few years he was not getting any case to fight for. Right? So he was unemployed, and finally he was an opportunity to contest a case, to fight a case in South Africa, and that was the case of the Dada Abdullah, who was a Gujarati Muslim payment merchant. So now, at this juncture, when we are going to begin with the Gandhi's story, we need to inquire about some of the aspects associated with the Gandhi. So first of all, that who was the spiritual guru of the Gandhi? Yes, who was the spiritual guru of the Gandhi? Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Right? And who was the political guru of the Gandhi? Yes. So you need to be very careful in this regard. Because as a question of that, basically what happens is there is some generic information which is there with all of us. So what we say, that when we see the question, so automatically that name comes and then we go with that name. And this is where we fall. So his political guru was Gopal Krishna Gokhale. His spiritual guru was a Jain monk whose name was Raichandra Bhai. And now understand, what are the differences of the Gandhi? Satya and Ahimsa. Ahimsa is the major philosophy of which religion? Jainism, not Buddhism. Buddhism may optimum wala ahimsa hai. The extreme or the major focus of the Jainism is the non-violence. Do not have violence. So actually it is said that the Gandhian philosophy of the ahimsa, it is all inspired from the Raichandra Bhai. And for Jainism. So if you get a question in prelim exam, always choose with the Jainism. Then he has a very high influence, and in fact, it is Raichandra Bhai who got this case for the Gandhi. So it is because of his intervention, Gandhi went to South Africa to fight this case. I hope you got it. Then tell me some of the important books which shaped the philosophy of the Gandhi, and it should always be a guide to the Gandhi. Yes, which one? What's the name? War and Peace. Okay. And you were saying something? And to this last, whose book is that? John Ruskin. Okay. And then any other book? Yes. So Pehli Kitab was the famous Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita was always his guide. Whenever he was in the confusion between the Dharma and the Dharma, okay, which path to trace, so he always took Bhagavad Gita. That he always resorted to the Bhagavad Gita to get guidance. And then when he was in South Africa, there were two books which shaped his strategy. The one was the And to this last, written by John Ruskin, and the other one was Leo Tolstoy's book, not War and Peace. The Kingdom of God is within you. Okay. So the Kingdom of God is within you. The most popular book of the Leo Tolstoy is War and Peace. Okay. But actually it was not inspiration to the Gandhi. So these three books Gandhi mentions all the time that they played a big role in the creation of his own strategies and the policies and guiding his life. Okay. So one was already there with him, and the two he got interface with the two in the South Africa. So एक बार थोड़ा सा लिखो that just mention right. Gandhi got opportunity to study law from England. Got opportunity to study law from England. After completing his education, he came back to India. After completing his education, he came back to India. In 1893, he got a case to fight in South Africa. First of all, he landed in Durban to sort out the legal problems of his client, Dada Abdullah. So now listen, which gives you and then we do a bit. So listen, when Gandhi is already there in South Africa, so he is observing what is happening in South Africa. By fighting the case, he is observing. So he found three types of Indians in South Africa. Right? And what is three types? So first of all, the indentured labor from the southern part of India who are working in the mines of South Africa. That's number one category. Number two category was the children of these Indians who were born in South Africa. Now you remember, you must have read about the citizenship right of India when you started with Article 1, 2, 3. So the ancient part of the polity we studied with the citizenship. Okay? In citizenship, that as I hope you know, that one becomes a citizen of India by birth also. You get it? So if you're born in the Indian land, you are Indian citizen. Right? So if the children of the indentured labor in South Africa, if they're born in South Africa, so they logically they must become the member of the citizen, or they become the citizen of South Africa. So why we are mentioning it because they were not provided any rights. Right? So that's why we are keeping them as separate category. And the third category in South Africa was the Gujarati Muslim payment merchants, who though they were a bit better than the indentured labor, but all the three categories were highly discriminated in the South Africa. Right? And in fact, they were treated as slaves in South Africa. The problem of these three, the indentured labor and their children and the Gujarati Muslim payment merchants, the problem of these was that they didn't have any knowledge of the English language. And since they were compromised on the English language, they were not knowing how to contest or oppose the British authority. So they accepted slavery as the way of life in South Africa. So Gandhi observed three types of Indians. In South Africa. Number one, indentured labor from South India. Who are working in South African mines. who are working in South African mines. Then next one, after it, South African mines. Number 2, their children who were born in South Africa. Their children who were born in South Africa, but did not enjoy any citizenship right. But did not enjoy any citizenship right. Next, number 3, Gujarati Muslim Mehman merchants. Gujarati Muslim Mehman merchants who were economically better than the indentured labor. That as we can see that the name is moderate, so this method must also be moderate, which included prayer and petition and sending memorial to the South African legislature and so as to the British Parliament. But then there will be no constitutional education. In moderate phase in India, we mention constitutional education. Yahan pe we are not mentioning constitutional education. What is the reason why we are not mentioning this word? Yeah? No, citizenship, basically Indians are not members of the legislature. Okay? To do the constitutional education, you will have to be there in the part of the South African legislature, but Indians are not a part of the legislature. Okay? So now, Gandhi went ahead with this policy. Then moreover, what is happening? So basically, there was one local war in South Africa, and that is Second Boer War. Second Boer War in 1899. So it is basically a local war in South Africa, which is contested between the local Boer formation and the British government. Now, during this war in 1899, Gandhi created an ambulance corps of Indians. Right? So ambulance corps of Indians to assist those who are afflicted any sort of injury in the war and basically British. So he created an ambulance corps of Indians. What does it mean? That they provided medical assistance to the British who were inflicted in the war. Right? So Gandhi was adopting these all kinds of strategies to get the support from the British authority, and Britain must give some sort of political rights, some sort of more rights to the Indians. Right? So Gandhi's support was appreciated. In terms of then what has been returned to Gandhi, so they returned to Gandhi a title. And the title was Kaisar-e Hind. So Gandhi was given a title Kaisar-e Hind, and the meaning of this word Gem of India. So this is the title which was given to him, Gem of India. Right? So now what happened? So that's said and done. Once again in 1906, 1906 there was another local war in South Africa, and this is the Zulu War. So पहले कौन सा war था? Boer and now Zulu War. Once again Gandhi reached the same organization, or same ambulance corps of India to provide the medical assistance to the British who were inflicted in the war. But this time British did not return any favor. Right? And this is the time when Gandhi realized that he will have to adopt the strategy of the passive resistance solution. Right? In 1894, Gandhi founded Metal Indian Congress. To oppose the oppressive measures.
South Africa
adopted by British authority against Indians. He also released a magazine, Indian Opinion. And I didn't told you one part, which is not very clear, but just listen. How Gandhi was just for solving the legal problems of Dara Abdullah, but why he disappeared? So basically, what happened when Gandhi was done with solving the legal problems of Dara Abdullah, so he decided that he will return back to India. And that's the time when Indians requested to Gandhi that he must stay a little bit more to solve their other problems. So Gandhi decided that he'll stay for a little bit more months, but then this 3-4 months turned out to be 20 years for Gandhi in South Africa, right? And he got associated with their problems. Moreover, if you get a question that meanwhile his stay in the South Africa, did Gandhi ever return to India? So yes, obviously he was returning. So time and again, after 3-4 years, he was returning for some time to meet his family. And actually, in the very first interview, he has gone in 1895 he returned, right? And he returned to take Kasturba with him. Kasturba, his wife, right? He was in India. And then also he has returned 1 or 2 times to India to meet his family. But then his continuous stay is there in South Africa. So for visiting family he's coming, but then not for other purposes. Right? So next week, right? Everything like that. So last one. Okay, so magazine, and then like in this phase, Gandhi adopted the strategy of prayer, petition, and sending memorial to South African legislature, and South African legislature and colonial secretary in London. In 1899,
Zulu
Second Boer War to be able to vote on the budget, but also the supplementary question or complementary question will also follow. And in which 1909. So mention professors, group of teachers, professors, communal politics of British would be alive. I hope you're ready. So then mention once again in 1906, during no favor was returned to Gandhi at this time. So this is what the first phase. Now, one incident which I need to share, but before that, the question is, that was Gandhi the person who talks on the racism, or basically was racial in nature? Like, did he differentiate people of the race, or has he given any such statement or any such argument that he has made about the different races? Was he a racial person? That's right. Statement was given by him. Okay? He was not the person who identified people on the basis of the racism, but then at one point of time he gave a statement. Okay? Now understand. So what is the statement? Basically, that Gandhi in 1906, when the Zulu War was going on, he provided medical assistance to the British who were inflicted in the war, but in British did not return any favor. So Gandhi went on to make a statement. And the statement was that we Indians are not representing a lot of the people. Okay? We follow what has been said by the British authorities. in their capital, they were establishing a chair of the Gandhian studies or department of the Gandhian studies in their university. At that point of time, some Protestant movement started, okay? And in this Protestant movement, people counted Gandhi as a racist person, and they came up with this statement of Gandhi, which was made at that point of time, which was recorded at that point of time by the British themselves. So now Gandhi was branded as a racist, and then after what happened, the Protestant movement was so impactful that you granted government career that if you could do resident, that they will not be creating any such department related to Gandhian studies. Then, so this is the only time that Gandhi made a statement, but it can happen with anybody. His intention was not to demean the South Africans, but just to compare that we are behaving in a disciplined manner, but we are not giving any sort of rights. And that was the statement of the 1906 after the Zulu War. And that is the time that Gandhi is frustrated with the kind of a bit extreme word, but Gandhi is not coinciding with the moderate movement, and then he will think that there's the need of creating some sort of pressure on the British authorities. We are going to start the passive resistance phase. So mention a title. He supported Varna system. Okay, he supported Varna system. There's a separate discussion, but then in your class I'm not going to do that. Okay, obviously I have been prescribed from doing those discussions, not prescribed, but basically when the mandate of the regular batches. So the last portion, what I do generally, okay, that I do a comparative analysis of the many personalities, and in fact, in the paper it was there from. So I do comparative analysis of Gandhi, Gandhi, and Gandhi, and Bose sometimes, and in different classes, whatever people demand. So I have a comparison of the Nehru and Patel also, okay, and Patel and Bose also. So if basically कभी ना कभी 3 से 4 साल में एक बार तो मेन क्वेश्चन आता है, ठीक है? So I would rather suggest एक kind से नोट्स मिल जाए उसको देखिए, ठीक है? So now let's come to the next part. Is basically passive resistance phase of Gandhi. Passive resistance phase, and in this timeline you write 1906 to 1914. So 1906 to 1914. Now understand. So Zulu War के बाद सब कुछ change हो गया. In India also the passive resistance has started being that some sort of pressure was created. So for starting this passive resistance movement, there must be some issues of that time. And what were the main issues or grievances of the Indians in South Africa at that time? So there are two things. So let's understand. Like Indians at this point of time, their movement was restricted. So majority of the Indians were concentrated in Natal province. That is the name of the province in South Africa. So Indians were concentrated in this area, and British government they came up with the rule whereby Indians cannot go to any other province of South Africa. They will be moving only in the Natal. So that's number one. Then the Indian marriages, number two. So the Indian marriages which were not conducted according to the British rules and regulations, they were to be invalidated. So basically, they were not recognizing the Hindu ritual marriage, but they were recognizing those illegal process marriages. And moreover, there was a secondary intention behind it to promote Christianity. So this is the second move. And third was that Indians were supposed to carry their registration certificates all the time in their necks. Okay? So they were supposed to carry their registration certificates all the time in their necks, and if they are not carrying the registration certificates, they were thoroughly mistreated. So these were the three main issues of this time. Gandhi, he said that we are going to start Satyagraha or passive resistance phase, which he called Satyagraha. So he said that we will not bow down before any evil law. Meaning, if the law is not right, so we will not be subscribing to that law. We will abrogate that law. So what he did that he created a group of followers and decided to cross the Natal province, move from the Natal, and enter into the another province, Transvaal. Right? So another province, Transvaal, and this is the time when large number of Indians having arrested and they were put into the jail. So Indians at this point of time, they started celebrating their jail term. So the jail they started to call that it is a King Edward Hotel. So they were not affected by the jail terms. Right? So now there is an increased migration from the Natal province towards the Transvaal. That is one. Then after some sort of negotiation, when they are pleased. So this is the time in this phase, 1906 to 1914, Gandhi has created some of the forms in South Africa. And what are these forms? These are the precursors of the Gandhian ashrams in India. So very first form that Gandhi has created was the not Tolstoy, Phoenix form. Okay? So Phoenix form, he created Phoenix form. Then, and Phoenix form was actually inspired from the book which we mentioned, John Ruskin's book Unto This Last. And it is said that Phoenix form was the birthplace of the Satyagraha. Then, and then the second one which he created was the Tolstoy form. So Tolstoy, we'll talk about it, the photos of the purpose of it, very good. So mention. So, and if we add to, just add one more word, Satyagraha. Satyagraha. And just write definition of Satyagraha. So mention. Satyagrahi is a person. Satyagrahi is a person who never bows down before any evil or unjust law. Definition. He will be truthful and fearless. All the time. At this time, Gandhi felt moderate methods are not working. And to create pressure on British authority, passive resistance is required. Also, the main issues of this time are, so number one is right, number one. Indians were forced to carry their registration certificates. All the time. Right? Number two. Indians were not allowed to move into any other province of South Africa. Except Natal province. Then, number three. The marriages of Indians which were not conducted according to the British rules and regulations. were to be invalidated. Were to be invalidated. And so you think, okay, Gandhi initiated Satyagraha. And large number of his followers crossed the Natal province and entered into Transvaal. Then back of you right. In this phase, initially Gandhi created Phoenix form, inspired from John Ruskin's book
until
Unto This Last. John Ruskin's book Unto This Last. First observation. Phoenix form is regarded as birthplace of Satyagraha, where Gandhi trained the Satyagrahis. Now, so Gandhi also created the second form, which is Tolstoy form. And Tolstoy form was the purpose and how it was created. Purpose was obviously to give an alternative way of living for the Satyagrahis. And obviously it is providing the refuge to the Satyagrahis. But obviously, so if it is providing refuge, alternative way of living, so it means that more finances are required for the Tolstoy. So for the creation of Tolstoy, he was supported by his German friend Kallenbach. So Kallenbach provided financial assistance, and there was also a time when Gopal Krishna Gokhale is canvassing all over India, or different places, is collecting funds for the Gandhi. Then he was a political guru and he was collecting funds for the Gandhi. Then moreover, many of the corporate people also have contributed Gandhi at this point of time. For example, Tata sent 25,000 rupees to Gandhi, and 25,000 rupees at that point of time was a very big amount. So mentioned correctly. So Gandhi also created Tolstoy form. To provide an alternative way of living. For Satyagrahis. It was created with the support of his German friend Kallenbach. First of all, in India, his political guru, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, collected the funds for Gandhi's movement. So this is what is about this particular part. Now, there's no more partition here. So from 1912 onwards. So 1912 to 1914, Gandhi had a series of negotiations involving the main authorities in South Africa, which included General Fund and then CFMQs and so as the Viceroy Hardinge.